Cancel your appointment and come clean the house. It's the least you can do, my daughter-in-law said. When I said no, she stood up and screamed in front of everyone, "You are useless!" I grabbed my purse and walked out without looking back. Days later, she lost everything. Those words came out of my daughter-in-law Melissa's mouth as if they were the most natural thing in the world. We were in the middle of my granddaughter Valerie's birthday party, surrounded by 30 guests, purple balloons everywhere, and the sweet smell of the 3-layer chocolate cake I had been baking since 5 in the morning. I had the phone pressed to my ear. On the other end, Mr. Anderson, the antiques appraiser, had just offered me $45,000 for the opal necklace I inherited from my mother. $45,000. It was my salvation, my only way to have something of my own after 12 years of feeling like a stranger in my own house. But Melissa didn't care. She planted herself in front of me in those black patent leather heels she always wears to look taller, more powerful. Her expensive perfume hit me. "Eleanor, are you listening to me? The kitchen is a disaster. Cancel that ridiculous call and get to cleaning. It's the least you can do after we give you a roof over your head." I felt something inside me break, or maybe it was set free. I lowered the phone. I looked Melissa straight in the eyes, and for the first time in 12 years, in 4,380 days of humiliation, I said no. The silence that followed was deafening. The guests stopped talking. Even the music seemed to get quieter. Melissa blinked twice as if she hadn't understood. "What did you say?" I said no, Melissa. "I'm on an important call." Her face transformed. Surprise turned into a rage I had never seen before. She shot up from her chair so fast she knocked it over. The sound of the metal on the floor made Valerie jump, and then she screamed. She screamed so everyone could hear. "You are useless. You are a useless burden, just taking up space in this house." The 3-layer chocolate cake I had made with so much love was still untouched on the table. The purple balloons drifted on the breeze. My granddaughter Valerie looked at me with tears in her eyes, and my son David, my only son, remained seated, his eyes fixed on his plate, as if nothing was happening. I grabbed my brown leather purse, the one Ernest gave me for our 30th anniversary. I ran my hand over the worn leather, feeling its familiar texture, its promise of better times. I looked one last time at David waiting. I don't know what I was waiting for anymore, and I left. I walked through the guests with my head held high, even though inside I felt like I was falling apart. I heard the murmurs, the pitying glances, the uncomfortable silence I left in my wake. I didn't look back. What none of them knew, what Melissa never imagined, while she screamed at me in front of everyone, was that the call she interrupted wasn't just any call. Mr. Anderson was waiting for my answer about the opal necklace, those iridescent stones that shimmered with all the colors of the rainbow, the same ones my mother gave me on her deathbed, saying, "Save these for when you really need them." That moment had arrived, but what happened next, what I discovered in the following days, was much worse than anyone could imagine. And Melissa, with all her venom and arrogance, had no idea that her scream, that insult in front of 30 witnesses, had just sealed her fate. If you have ever been made to feel worthless in your own home, stay until the end of this story. Because what comes next, nobody saw coming. And if this confession is touching something inside you, subscribe to the channel to keep sharing stories like this, stories that need to be told. I arrived at Rebecca's house with dry eyes. The tears had run out on the way. She opened the door, saw my face, and didn't ask a thing. She just hugged me. But to understand how I got to that moment, to that scream that broke me in two in front of 30 people, I need to go back. I need to tell you how a 68-year-old woman, the owner of her own house, ended up feeling like an unpaid maid in the place she built with her husband. It all started 12 years ago when Ernest died. It was a Tuesday in October when the sky was so blue it looked fake. Ernest was watering the bright pink azaleas in the garden, those flowers he loved so much when he just stopped. The heart attack was massive. He didn't even have time to call for me. I found him there among the flowers, the hose still in his hand. The first few months were a silent hell. The house felt huge, empty, filled with the ghosts of conversations we would never have. David came to visit me every weekend, worried, affectionate. He would bring Melissa and Valerie, who was just a little 6-month-old baby then. "Mom, you can't stay alone in this big house," David would tell me while pouring coffee. "Why don't we share the space? That way you won't be alone and we could save on rent." It sounded reasonable. It sounded like a loving son. How naive I was. In the beginning, Melissa was a different person. Kind, considerate, even loving. She helped me with dinner, asked me how I had slept, hugged me when she saw me looking sad. I thought I hadn't just gained a daughter-in-law, but a daughter. The transformation was gradual, so slow, I didn't see it coming. It started with little things. A comment about my cooking. "Oh, Eleanor, don't you think you used a little too much salt?" Then about how I dressed. "At your age, you should wear more discreet colors, don't you think?" Then about my friends from the knitting circle. "Those ladies just go to gossip. You're wasting your time." When Valerie turned 1, Melissa quit her job. "To dedicate myself to the baby," she said. But the one who ended up taking care of Valerie was me. I was the one waking up at 3 in the morning when she cried. I was the one making her baby food, changing her diapers, singing her to sleep. Melissa would go out with her friends because, "I need a break, Eleanor. Being a mother is exhausting." And I kept quiet. Because I loved my granddaughter. Because I thought this is how families were supposed to be, supporting each other. But there was one day that marked the real beginning of my nightmare. Valerie was 3. I was making lunch when I heard the crash. Melissa had deliberately dropped her coffee cup on the kitchen floor. I saw her do it. Our eyes met. "Oh, I'm so clumsy," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Eleanor, can you clean this up? I mean, you don't work. You have all the time in the world." Something in her tone sent a chill down my spine. It wasn't a request. It was an order disguised as an accident. I cleaned up the coffee, and the next day I cleaned up another accident, and another, and another. The following years were a downward spiral I didn't know how to escape. I was assigned chores as if I were part of the house inventory. Cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Wash everyone's clothes. Iron David's shirts and Melissa's dresses. Clean the 3 bathrooms. Mop dust, tidy up. Meanwhile, Melissa and David went out to elegant restaurants. They traveled to Miami, to Vegas, to Napa. They came back tan and happy, with suitcases full of new clothes. "Mom, I brought you this shawl. I saw it and thought of you," David would say, handing me something that was clearly the cheapest thing in the souvenir shop. I would smile and fold it into my tiny closet, because yes, my closet was tiny. 8 years ago, Melissa came into my bedroom, the master bedroom, the one I had shared with Ernest for 35 years. "Eleanor, we need this room. It's bigger and David needs space for his home office. You'll be more comfortable in the storage room. It's cozy." The storage room, 8 feet by 10 feet. Next to the laundry room, where the noise from the washer woke me up every morning at 6. Where the heat was unbearable in the summer because it had no fan. Where the smell of detergent seeped into my clothes, my hair, my lungs. But the room wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the loneliness. My only refuge was Thursdays. Every Thursday at 4 in the afternoon, I met with my knitting circle at Rebecca's house. There were 6 of us, all widows or divorced, all with stories to tell, while we knitted blankets, scarves, sweaters. Melissa hated those Thursdays. "You're going out again, Valerie needs you," she'd say, even though Valerie was perfectly fine playing on her tablet. "You're so selfish, Eleanor. You only think about yourself." But I went. It was the only thing I had left of myself. Until 3 months ago, something happened that should have opened my eyes for good. It was my birthday. 68 years old. I asked Melissa a month in advance if I could use the living room to invite my friends from the knitting circle. We just wanted to have coffee, eat cake, and talk. "Of course, Eleanor. It's your house, too," she told me with that perfect smile I had learned to distrust. The day of my birthday, I got home from grocery shopping. I opened the door and found the living room full of Melissa's friends, music blasting, bottles of wine, appetizers everywhere. "Eleanor, just in time," Melissa shouted over the music. "We organized a last-minute get-together. Can you bring us more ice?" My friends were waiting for me at Rebecca's house. I had to call them to cancel. "Something came up," I told them, my voice breaking. Rebecca didn't believe me. "Eleanor, what's going on in that house?" "Nothing. Becca, everything's fine." But nothing was fine. And that day, while I served ice to Melissa's friends in my own living room on my birthday, something inside me started to die. Or maybe it started to wake up. Because 3 months later at Valerie's birthday party, when Melissa screamed at me in front of everyone that I was useless, that part of me that had been dormant, humiliated, and trampled on for 12 years finally said, "Enough." Rebecca opened the door for me at 8 o'clock at night. She was wearing her flowered cotton robe, the one she wears when she's not expecting visitors, and her reading glasses hung from a gold chain. One look at my face was all she needed. She knew I had been waiting. "Come on in, Eleanor. The tea is already on." She didn't ask me what had happened. Rebecca has that wisdom that only comes from 70 years of life and 40 years of friendship. She knew I would talk when I was ready. I sat in her kitchen at that wooden table where we had knitted so many afternoons, where we had cried for our dead husbands, where we had laughed until our stomachs hurt. The smell of chamomile tea wrapped around me like a hug. "She screamed at me," I finally said, "in front of 30 people. She told me I'm useless." Rebecca poured the tea into those white porcelain cups she treasures. She didn't say anything. She just waited. And then I broke down. I told her everything, not just about Valerie's party, but everything else. The 12 years of small daily deaths, the looks of contempt, the accidents with the coffee, how they had taken my bedroom, how I had spent my last birthday serving ice. "I sleep next to the laundry room, Becca, in a room that doesn't even have a real window, just a skylight that wakes me up at 5 in the morning." Rebecca set her cup down on the table with a sharp click. "And the house, whose name is the house in—" I blinked. I hadn't thought about that in years. "Ernest left it to me." "I think so." "You think so?" Rebecca stood up with an energy I hadn't seen in months. "Eleanor, where are the papers for the house?" "In the study, but it's Melissa's office now. She keeps everything locked up." Rebecca went to her room and came back with a folder. She opened it on the table and pulled out documents I recognized immediately. They were copies of the deeds Ernest and I had signed when we bought the house, 38 years ago. "When Ernest died, did you sign anything to transfer the property?" I searched my memory. I remembered those first few months, the pain, the confusion, the meetings with lawyers, the inheritance papers, the will. No, Ernest left everything to me. There was nothing to transfer. I was the sole heir. "Then the house is still in your name, Eleanor. Your name. Not David's, not Melissa's, yours." Those words hit me like cold water. For 12 years I had felt like an unwelcome guest, like someone who should be grateful for a roof over her head. Melissa had repeated it so many times that I ended up believing it. But the house was mine. "You need to see those papers," Rebecca insisted. "You need to know exactly what documents are in that office and why Melissa has them under lock and key." I stayed at Rebecca's house that night, and the next, and the next. David called on the second day. His voice sounded tense, uncomfortable. "Mom, where are you? We're worried." "Worried? What a curious word." "I'm fine, David. I need time to think." "Look, Mom, I already talked to Melissa. She overreacted." "Okay, you know how she gets when she's stressed. With Valerie's party, the expenses, all of it. Come home. We can talk." I heard a noise in the background, Melissa's voice, though I couldn't make out what she was saying. "I'm not coming back yet." "What?" David's voice went up an octave. "Mom, don't be dramatic. It's your house, too." "My house, too, as if it were a concession, as if they were doing me a favor." "Goodbye, David." I hung up before he could answer. My hands were shaking. During those 3 days, Rebecca and I talked like we hadn't in years. She told me things she had noticed, but had never said, respecting my dignity, waiting for me to see it for myself. 2 years ago, at the neighborhood Christmas party, Melissa told the neighbors you were having memory problems, that you were forgetting things, getting confused. I froze. "I don't forget anything, Becca." "I know, but she's planting the idea, laying the groundwork." "For what?" Rebecca looked at me with those gray eyes that had seen too much of the world. "To declare you incompetent, Eleanor, to take everything from you." Yeah. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in the bed in Rebecca's guest room staring at the ceiling, feeling the pieces of a puzzle I didn't know I was assembling start to fit together. The comments about my age, the jokes about my memory, the way Melissa always interrupted me when I was talking to other people, finishing my sentences, correcting what I said. It wasn't carelessness. It wasn't casual disrespect. It was a plan. On the third day, Rebecca made pancakes for breakfast. We sat in her small dining room, the morning sun streaming through the window, and she told me something that would change everything. I have a nephew, Julian. He's a lawyer. He specializes in family law, cases like yours, cases like mine. Financial and emotional elder abuse by family members. It's more common than you think, Eleanor, and it's a crime. The word crime hit me in the chest. I didn't want to get my son into legal trouble. I just wanted... What did I want? Respect. My house back. My life. I don't know, Becca. He's my son. And you are his mother. The woman who bore him, raised him, loved him. Doesn't that count? I had no answer for that. That afternoon, David showed up at Rebecca's house. He brought flowers, the kind they sell at the supermarket, wrapped in cellophane. He looked tired, but not sorry. Mom, enough with the drama. Let's go home. It's not drama, David. Melissa is very sorry. She already talked to Valerie, explained there was a misunderstanding. The girl misses you. Always Valerie. They always used my granddaughter as emotional bait. And you, David, what do you think about all this? He shifted uncomfortably in Rebecca's dining chair. I think we all got upset. But we're family. Families fight, and they forgive. When she screamed at me, you said nothing. You just sat there. I didn't want to make things worse. You didn't want to make your wife uncomfortable. The silence that followed was heavy, filled with truths neither of us wanted to face. Finally, David sighed. What do you want me to do? Mom, divorce her. Melissa is the mother of my child. And I was his mother. But apparently that mattered less. I'll go home, I said finally. But things are going to change, David. I am going to change. I went back to my house that afternoon. Melissa was waiting for me in the living room. When she saw me walk in, her eyes filled with tears. She ran to me and hugged me. Eleanor, forgive me. I don't know what got into me. The stress, the worries. I said horrible things I didn't mean. Her hug felt fake like everything else. But I hugged her back because David was watching us from the stairs with hope in his eyes. It's okay, Melissa. Do you really forgive me? Her tears were soaking my blouse. Really? But inside, something had shifted. As I held her, smelling her expensive perfume and feeling her crocodile tears, I remembered Rebecca's words. She's laying the groundwork to take everything from you. And in that moment, hugging my daughter-in-law, who was crying fake tears, I made a decision. If she was playing chess, then I would play too. But she didn't know she had just woken up a rival who had spent 12 years studying her every move. The first few days after my return were strangely calm. Melissa acted as if we were best friends. She'd ask if I slept well, pour my coffee in the morning, even offered to help me make dinner. It was all a lie, so perfect it was almost funny. David seemed relieved. See, Mom, you just needed to talk. Things can work when we all do our part. I nodded. I smiled. I played along. But at night in my room next to the laundry with the smell of detergent clinging to the sheets, I thought. I planned. I remembered every detail of what Rebecca had told me. The following Thursday, I went to my knitting circle. Melissa didn't object. Of course, Eleanor, enjoy your afternoon with the ladies. You deserve it. That kindness made me more nervous than her yelling. At Rebecca's house, my friends greeted me with hugs and worried looks. They all knew what had happened at Valerie's party. News travels fast in our neighborhood. Are you okay, Eleanor? Asked Susan, the youngest of the group, barely 62. I'm learning, I replied. Rebecca pulled me aside into her kitchen while the others took out their yarn and needles. My nephew Julian wants to talk to you. He says it's urgent. Why urgent? Because he did some digging, and he found things, Eleanor, things you need to know. 2 days later, on a Saturday afternoon, while Melissa and David had taken Valerie to the movies, I went to Julian's office. It was a modest building downtown, third floor, no elevator. I climbed the stairs with my heart pounding against my ribs. Julian was a man of about 45 with glasses and a kind smile that reminded me of Rebecca. He offered me water, coffee, a comfortable chair in front of his desk, which was covered in files. "Mrs. Eleanor, my aunt told me about your situation. I did a little research with her permission, and there are things you need to know." He pulled out a folder. He opened it in front of me. Melissa Fuentes, 39 years old, compromised credit history. She owes a total of $85,000 between 3 credit cards, 2 personal loans, and a car loan. I couldn't breathe. $85,000. The interest is eating her alive. Excessive purchases, trips, restaurants. Her spending pattern is unsustainable. I thought of all those trips to Miami, the designer clothes, the expensive shoes, the dinners at restaurants where one dish cost what I spent on groceries for a whole week. "That's why she needs the house," I said in a low voice. "Exactly. Your house, according to the county, has an approximate value of $850,000. If she manages to sell it, she can pay her debts and have enough left over to start fresh. But there's a problem. The house is in my name." "Correct. And according to the law, as long as you are alive and in full possession of your mental faculties, no one can touch that property without your consent." The word "alive" echoed in my head in a way I didn't like. "And if someone declared me mentally incompetent?" Julian looked at me with those eyes that had seen too many cases like mine. "Then your son, as a direct relative, could petition for legal guardianship. And with that guardianship, he could make decisions about your assets, including selling the house. Even if I don't agree, if you are declared legally incompetent, your opinion no longer matters in the eyes of the law." I leaned back in the chair. I felt like the walls were closing in. "My aunt told me Melissa has been commenting in the neighborhood about your supposed memory problems." "I don't have memory problems." "I know, but she's building a narrative. Witnesses who can testify that you forget things, that you get confused, that you need supervision. It's a slow but effective process." "What can I do?" Julian closed the folder and looked at me directly. "Protect yourself. Document everything. And be prepared for what's coming." I returned home with my head spinning. $85,000 in debt. My house valued at $850,000. The pieces fit together with a clarity that made me sick. That night at dinner, Melissa dropped the bomb. "Eleanor, we need to talk about something important." David put his fork down. Valerie was playing on her tablet in the living room. "We want to remodel the house. It's needed an update for years. The bathrooms, the kitchen, the bedrooms, everything." "Remodel?" I repeated. "Yes. We've been saving, but it's not enough. We need about $30,000 to start." $30,000, almost a third of her debt. "I don't have that kind of money, Melissa." "But you have the necklace." Her voice was still sweet, but there was steel underneath. "That opal necklace you guard so carefully. My aunt has a jewelry store in Beverly Hills. She could appraise it, give you a good price." "It's already been appraised. $45,000. Melissa's eyes lit up. "See, perfect. You sell the necklace. We use $30,000 for the remodel, and you keep $15,000 for yourself. It's a win-win." "To remodel my house." "Our house, Eleanor," David chimed in for the first time. "We all live here. We all benefit." I stared at my plate of lentil soup. The spoon was shaking in my hand. "I'll think about it." "There's not much to think about, Mom." David's voice hardened. "It's only fair. We pay the utilities, the food, everything." "I'll think about it," the real face behind the mask. "I'll think about it," I repeated. Melissa smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. "Don't take too long, Eleanor. Materials are getting more expensive every day." That night, when everyone was asleep, I went down to the kitchen for a glass of water. The house was dark silent. I passed by the study in Melissa's office. The door was slightly ajar. My heart was beating so hard, I thought it would give me away. I went in. The desk was tidy almost obsessively. Colored folders, pens arranged by size, a closed laptop. I searched the drawers with trembling hands. In the third drawer, under some furniture catalogs, I found a green plastic folder. I opened it, and my world stopped. They were property transfer documents for my house, but the signatures weren't mine. Someone had forged my signature on at least 5 different documents. Deeds, power of attorney, authorizations to sell. Everything was fake. I kept looking. Behind the green folder, there were envelopes. I opened one, printed emails. Between Melissa and a real estate broker in Pasadena. Dear Mrs. Fuentes, we confirm receipt of the documentation. The house in Westridge is ready to be listed as soon as we have the final deed. Suggested price $850,000. Our commission is 4%. We await your news. Date of the email, 2 weeks ago. There was another envelope, this one with the letterhead of a law firm. Process for declaration of mental incompetence. Client Melissa Fuentes. Subject Eleanor Duran. Appointment November 28th, 10:30 a.m. November 28th, 15 days from now. I took out my phone. With shaking hands, I photographed every document, every email, every piece of paper in that cursed folder. When I finished, I put everything back exactly as I found it. I closed the drawer. I left the office like a ghost. In my room, I sat on the bed and looked at the photos on my phone. The evidence was there, clear, irrefutable. Melissa didn't just want to take my house. She wanted to erase me, declare me incompetent, sell everything. And David, my son, did he know? Was he a complice or just an idiot blinded by his wife? I didn't know. And that doubt hurt more than all the humiliations combined. But one thing I did know, I couldn't keep playing the victim. I opened my email. It was 2 a.m, but I had to write. Becca, I have the proof. Everything. I'm going to Julian tomorrow. This ends now. Her reply came in seconds. It's about time, Eleanor. It's about time. I lay down with the phone against my chest, feeling something I hadn't felt in 12 years. Power. Sunday dawned with an aggressive sunbeam cutting through the skylight of my room. Melissa made a special breakfast. Pancakes, bacon, fresh squeezed orange juice. The smell filled the house. Sit down, Eleanor. I'm cooking today. You rest. David read the newspaper. Valerie was coloring in her princess book. It all looked like a picture-perfect family scene from a magazine. But I had seen the documents. I knew the truth. And now every smile from Melissa felt like the edge of a knife. Have you thought about the necklace? Melissa asked as she poured coffee. The remodeling can't wait. There's dampness in the walls, Eleanor. If we don't fix it soon, it's going to get worse. I'm still thinking about it. What's there to think about? David put down the paper. Mom, the necklace is sitting in a box. You don't use it. You don't enjoy it. At least let it be useful for something. Useful. Like paying his wife's debts. It's the only thing I have left from my mother. And this house is the only thing we have left from Dad. Melissa sat across from me. She took my hand. Her fingers were cold. He would want us to take care of it, don't you think? To keep it beautiful. The manipulation was so obvious it was disgusting. But I smiled. You're right. Let me talk to the appraiser this week. Melissa's eyes lit up. Really? Really? But I want to make sure I get the best price. Of course. My aunt can help. She knows all the best jewelers in the city. I was sure she did. Jewelers who would give her a commission. That afternoon, while Melissa took Valerie to a birthday party and David was napping, I went back to the study. More prepared this time, I had my phone fully charged and a mental list of what I needed to find. I opened the drawer again. The green folder was still there, but this time I dug deeper. Behind the furniture catalogs, I found another folder. This one was red, thicker. I opened it, and I felt the floor drop out from under me. They were statements. Credit card statements in Melissa's name. The numbers were even worse than Julian had said. Bank of America owed $28,745. Interest rate 22%. Nordstrom owed $15,689. American Express owed $31,267. There was more. Loans from pawn shops, signed IOUs, even a loan from a shady online lender with 8% monthly interest. How had she gotten to this point? I looked at the dates. The spending went back 5 years. $300 dinners, one $200 shoes, a designer handbag that cost $4,500, all while I was sleeping in a storage room and wearing the same clothes I'd had for 10 years. But the worst part was at the bottom of the folder, a printed document, an email between Melissa and someone named Roger Keene, attorney at law. Dear Melissa, regarding your inquiry about the process of mental incompetence for seniors, I confirm we need 2 witnesses to testify to erratic behavior or memory loss. A psychiatric evaluation will be required. I can recommend professionals who understand the situation. Documentation proving the subject cannot manage her finances. The process takes 3 to 6 months. Once she is declared incompetent, you and your husband, as direct relatives, can petition for guardianship. With guardianship, you have total control over her assets, including the sale of property. My fee is $8,500 payable in 2 installments. I await your instructions. Roger Keene. The date, September 15th, 2 months ago. Her reply was dated 1 week later. Roger, perfect. I already have the witnesses. My neighbor Roseanne and my sister-in-law Patricia. Both have noticed Eleanor's decline. When can we start? Time is of the essence. I need liquidity urgently. Melissa. I photographed everything. Every page, every email, every statement. My hands weren't shaking anymore. I was beyond fear. I was in a place of absolute cold, sharp clarity. There were 2 witnesses. Roseanne, my neighbor from 3 houses down who I'd had coffee with hundreds of times. Patricia, David's sister. My own sister-in-law who I had cared for as a child, who I had helped when she got divorced. Both of them willing to lie. To say I was losing my mind. For money, for loyalty to Melissa, for reasons I would probably never understand. I kept looking. In the bottom drawer I found something that broke my heart. A manila envelope. Inside brochures for nursing homes. 3 different ones with information filled out by hand. My name, my age, suggested diagnosis. Incipient senile dementia requires constant supervision. One of the brochures had highlighter marks. Serenity Gardens residents, comprehensive care for seniors, from $1,800 monthly. There was a sticky note attached. This one, far from the neighborhood, no visits without family authorization. The handwriting was Melissa's. I sat in the desk chair surrounded by evidence of my own planned destruction. I didn't cry. I had no tears left for this. Melissa didn't just want my house. She wanted to erase me, put me in a home far away where no one could see me, where I couldn't defend myself or tell the truth, and then sell everything, pay her debts, start over with my money in my house with my life buried in some $1,800 a month nursing home. I heard a car pull up outside. Voices. Melissa was back. I put everything away quickly, closed the drawers. I walked out of the study just as the front door opened. Eleanor, where are you? Melissa's voice was cheerful. Fake. Here, in the kitchen. My voice came out surprisingly calm. She walked in carrying Valerie in her arms. My granddaughter's face was painted like a butterfly with pink glitter on her cheeks. Look, Grandma, I'm a butterfly. You are beautiful, my love. Melissa set her down. Go wash your face, Valerie. Be careful on the stairs. When the girl had gone up, Melissa approached me. Her smile was perfect. So when are we going to see my aunt the jeweler? Wednesday is fine. Perfect. The sooner the better. I already hired the architect to come and give us an estimate for the remodel. He's coming on Friday. She moved so fast. She was so sure of her victory. One question, Eleanor. She sat at the kitchen table, crossed her legs. Have you updated your will recently? With your age, it's important to have everything in order. There it was. I haven't thought about it. You should. For Valerie, for David. So there are no problems later. Later. When I was gone. Or when I was locked away in a home declared incompetent. I'll think about it. I can recommend a notary. A friend of Roger, my lawyer. He does excellent work. Roger, the same lawyer from the emails. The one who charged $8,500 to legally erase me. Thanks, Melissa. You're so kind. That's what we're here for. We're family. Family. That word she had used as a shield, as an excuse, as a prison for 12 years. That night after dinner, I faked a headache and went to my room early. I closed the door. I sat on my bed with my phone. I sent all the photos to Rebecca and to Julian. Every document, every email, every statement. Julian's response came in 20 minutes. Mrs. Eleanor, this is enough to press criminal charges. Forgery, attempted fraud, conspiracy. We are talking 2 to 12 years in prison. I need to see you first thing tomorrow morning. We are going to stop this before it's too late. Rebecca called me. Her voice sounded strange, tense. Eleanor, are you okay? Are you sure you want to do this? Do what, Becca? Press charges. She's your granddaughter's mother. She's your son's wife. This is going to blow up your family. I looked around my tiny room. The smell of detergent, the narrow bed, the skylight where the sun would wake me up far too early. My family already blew up Becca. I was just in denial for 12 years. Silence on the other end. All right, then we're going to do this right. We are going to protect you, and we are going to make sure she can't do this to anyone else. I hung up and lay down. For the first time in months, I slept deeply. Because I knew the war had begun, and this time I was not going to be the victim. At 9 in the morning on Monday, I was in Julian's office. This time, I didn't climb the stairs with fear. I climbed them with purpose. Rebecca was already there, sitting in front of her nephew's desk. She hugged me when I came in. Did you bring everything? I put my phone on the desk. It's all here. Photos, documents, emails, everything. Julian connected my phone to his computer and started reviewing the images. His face grew more serious with each photo. This is bad, Mrs. Eleanor. Very bad. How bad? Forgery of official documents is a felony, 2 to 8 years in prison. Attempted theft, 6 months to 3 years. Fraud, 3 months to 12 years, depending on the amount. And if we add the fraudulent attempt to declare incompetence... He took off his glasses and looked at me directly. We are talking about a sentence that could be up to 12 years. Melissa Fuentes committed several serious crimes. 12 years. Valerie would be 24 when her mother got out. My granddaughter, I whispered. I know. Julian closed his laptop. That's why we need to do this correctly. This isn't just about punishment. It's about protecting you. And ultimately protecting that little girl too. How? We are going to build a solid case. We're going to collect more evidence. And we are going to make sure that when this blows up, you are completely protected, legally and physically. Rebecca took my hand. Julian found more. The lawyer opened a new folder on his desk. I made some calls, contacts in the financial sector. Melissa doesn't just owe $85,000. There are more debts that don't appear on her official credit history. More private loans, money she borrowed from friends, relatives. I found at least 4 people who lent her money and she never paid them back, sums ranging from $2,000 to $10,000. He did the math on his calculator. We're talking about a real debt that exceeds $120,000. I was speechless. $120,000. And she wanted to solve it with my house, my necklace, my life. There's more, Julian continued. I investigated the witnesses she mentioned in the email, Roseanne Taylor and Patricia Mendoza. Patricia, David's sister, my own sister-in-law. What did you find? Roseanne received a payment from Melissa 3 weeks ago, $3,000, a bank transfer. The memo line said, loan. But there's no loan documentation. She paid her to lie about me. It seems so. As for Patricia, Julian hesitated. She has 2 credit cards that Melissa co-signed for. If Patricia doesn't pay, Melissa is responsible. It's a form of mutual blackmail. Melissa has a hold over her. My own sister-in-law. The girl I helped raise when my mother-in-law got sick. The young woman who cried on my shoulder when she got divorced. And David, I asked, my voice breaking. Does my son know all this? Julian exchanged a look with Rebecca. That's the question we need to answer. Is he an accomplice or is he another victim? How do we find out? By watching him. documenting, seeing if he signs anything, if he participates in the conversations about the sale. For now, we don't know. That uncertainty was killing me. I needed to know if my son, the boy I had raised and loved for 42 years, was participating in my destruction. "What do we do now?" I asked. "First, we protect you." Julian took out several documents. "I need you to sign this. It's a notarized declaration stating you are in full possession of your mental faculties. We're also going to get a full psychological evaluation from a certified doctor." Why? To have irrefutable proof that you are fine. When Melissa tries to declare you incompetent, we will have dated proof that proves the opposite. "And my bank accounts. I already checked. You have $6,300 in the bank. It's not much, but it is yours. I suggest you transfer it to a new account at a different bank in your name only. No beneficiaries." What if Melissa notices? Let her notice. She can't access that money anymore. I also suggest you get that opal necklace out of the house. Keep it somewhere safe. Rebecca chimed in. "You can leave it at my house, Eleanor. In my safe." I nodded. Everything was happening so fast. "Second," Julian continued, "we document everything. Every conversation with Melissa, every demand, every threat. Your phone has a voice recorder. Use it. In this state, recordings are admissible as evidence as long as one party in the conversation knows it's being recorded. That party is you. You want me to record my daughter-in-law? I want you to protect yourself, Mrs. Eleanor. Melissa is planning to destroy you. You have the right to defend yourself." He was right, but recording conversations, collecting evidence, I felt like a spy in my own home. "And then, when do we report her?" "When we have enough evidence of an attempted act. Right now, we just have forged documents that haven't been officially used. We need her to make the next move, to try to use those documents, to move forward with the incompetence hearing. That's when we act. You want me to let her keep going? Just a little longer. Enough for the crime to be fully attempted and the case to be airtight. But I'll be monitoring everything. At the first sign of real danger, we act." I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff. "There's one more thing," Julian said. "I need you to think about what you want to happen after, when this all comes out, when Melissa is arrested. What do you want to happen with your son, with your house, with Valerie?" I hadn't thought that far ahead. I had been so focused on surviving, I hadn't planned for the aftermath. "I need time to think." "Take it, but think hard. Because the decisions you make now will define the rest of your life." I left that office with a folder full of documents to sign a list of things to do and a weight in my chest that I didn't know if it was fear or hope. Rebecca went with me to her house. We got the opal necklace that same afternoon. I went back to my house into the storage room and moved the loose floorboard where I had hidden the box for years. The necklace was still there, wrapped in black velvet. The opals shimmered with that internal light, changing color with every angle. Blues, greens, oranges, like tiny galaxies trapped in stone. "Forgive me, Mom," I whispered, "but I have to do this." I put it in my purse and walked out as if nothing was wrong. Melissa was in the living room watching TV. "You went out, Eleanor." "Just for a walk. I needed some air." "Oh, well, tomorrow I'll go with you to see my aunt, the jeweler. Does 11 o'clock work for you?" "Perfect." I smiled. She smiled. Two women playing chess, each thinking she knew what move was coming next. That night in my room, I set up the voice recorder on my phone. I tested it several times until I understood how it worked. And then I called my knitting circle, the 6 ladies who had known me for decades. "I need to ask you all a favor," I said. "A big favor." "Anything you need, Eleanor," Susan replied. I told them everything. Not the legal details, but the gist of it. Melissa was using me. She wanted to take my house. She had forged documents, and I needed help. "I need witnesses," I said. "People who can testify that I'm fine, that I don't have memory problems, that I'm not crazy." "Of course we'll testify," said Heather, the oldest of the group, 73 and sharp-tongued. "That woman is a snake. I always knew it." "Count on me," said Betty, and Rose and Lucy and Carmen, all of them. my friends, my tribe. I also need you to be on alert, I continued. If anything happens to me, if I disappear, if they take me somewhere, I need you to find Rebecca, to call Julian. Nothing is going to happen, Rebecca said firmly, because now you're protected. You're not alone anymore. I hung up with tears in my eyes, but this time they were different tears. Not of pain, but of gratitude, because Rebecca was right. For the first time in 12 years, I wasn't alone. I had a lawyer. I had evidence. I had witnesses. I had friends willing to fight with me. And Melissa, with all her perfect plans and forged documents, had no idea what was coming for her. I went to sleep that night thinking about my mother, about how she had taught me to knit when I was a little girl. Stitch by stitch with patience, building something beautiful from nothing. Life is like knitting honey, she used to say. Sometimes you have to unravel the whole thing and start over. But if you're patient and you don't give up in the end, you'll make something beautiful. I had let my life be unraveled for 12 years, stitch by stitch, letting Melissa weave her web around me. But now I was knitting something new, and this time the design was mine. Tuesday morning was gray. Low clouds threatened rain, but never delivered. Melissa came into the kitchen looking radiant in a wine-colored dress that probably cost more than my grocery budget for 2 months. Ready to see my aunt? I touched my purse. It was empty. The necklace was safe at Rebecca's house. Ready? Perfect. You're going to love her. Her shop is in Beverly Hills in a very elegant plaza. She sells antique pieces, collector's jewelry. She'll know the real value of your necklace. Her necklace. She had already claimed it in her mind. We got into Melissa's car, a gray BMW she was still making payments on. The air conditioning smelled like her expensive perfume. I put my hand on my purse, feeling my phone inside. The recorder was on. "Eleanor, there's something I want to tell you." Her voice sounded sweet, almost affectionate. "I know these years haven't been easy for either of us, but I want you to know that I appreciate you, that I value everything you've done for us." I kept my eyes on the window. "Thank you, Melissa. That's why I want you to understand that the remodel is important. It's not just for us, it's for you too. Imagine having a new bathroom, a safer one, with grab bars, a walk-in shower with a non-slip floor. It would be perfect for your age." Grab bars. As if I were an invalid. Sounds nice. "And I've also been thinking—" She paused as if choosing her words carefully. "David and I have talked. We think it would be good for you to have your own space, a smaller, more manageable little house, something where you don't have to worry about stairs or maintenance." There it was, the real plan. Sell my house and ship me off to a smaller, more manageable place, probably that $1, $800 a month nursing home. A little house or an apartment in a building with security with people your age. You could make new friends, have activities. It would be liberating. Liberating. What a curious word to describe what she really wanted, to get rid of me. And you two would stay in the house. Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? We're younger. Valerie is growing. She needs space. And you would be more comfortable in something more appropriate for your stage of life. My stage of life. As if being 68 meant I already had one foot in the grave. "It sounds like you have it all planned out," she laughed, a light laugh with no real joy. "It's not a plan, Eleanor. It's just an idea, so we can all be better off. But first, we need the money from the necklace to get started." We arrived at the shopping plaza, underground parking, luxury stores. Well-dressed people walking with bags from brands I could never afford. The jewelry store was called Ancient Treasures, an elegant display window with antique pieces on black velvet. A woman in her 50s greeted us. She looked like Melissa. Same perfect smile, same calculating eyes. "Melissa, so good to see you." They kissed on the cheek. "Is this your mother-in-law?" "Eleanor, this is my Aunt Gloria." "A pleasure, madam." She extended her hand. It was cold with rings on every finger. "Likewise." "Melissa mentioned you have an opal necklace. Opals are very special stones, highly valued by collectors." "Yes, it's an antique piece." "Did you bring it?" I touched my empty purse. "I couldn't find it." The silence that followed was as tight as a wire about to snap. "What do you mean you couldn't find it?" Melissa's voice went up an octave. I looked in my room. Everywhere. It's not there. Eleanor, you kept it under the loose floorboard. It's always been there. Interesting. She knew exactly where I kept it. How many times had she come in to snoop around my room when I wasn't here? Well, it's not there anymore. This is ridiculous. Melissa turned to her aunt. I'm sorry, my mother-in-law has been forgetful lately. There it was, the word forgetful, planting the seed in front of a witness. I'm not forgetful, Melissa. I just can't find the necklace. Because you don't remember where you put it. She turned to me with that exaggerated patience you use with children. Eleanor, think, when was the last time you saw it last week? It was in its spot, and now it's not, no. Melissa pressed her lips together. I could see the calculation behind her eyes. What to do now? How to control this? Let's go home, she said finally. We'll look for it together. In the car, the silence was heavy. Melissa drove with a clenched jaw, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. Eleanor, did you tell anyone about the necklace? No. Are you sure you didn't mention it to your friends from the knitting circle? Why would I do that? I don't know. Maybe you took it out to show them and forgot it at one of their houses. Trying to make me seem careless, senile. I didn't do that. Or maybe... She turned to look at me for a second before facing the road again. Maybe someone broke into the house. A robbery. Nothing else is missing. Just the necklace. How convenient, right? Just when we need it. Her tone had changed. It wasn't sweet anymore. It was accusatory. What are you implying, Melissa? Nothing, Eleanor. I just find it strange that the necklace suddenly disappeared. We got home. David was in the living room with his laptop. He looked up when we walked in. How did it go? Your mother lost the necklace, Melissa spat. What do you mean she lost it? I didn't lose it. It's not where I always kept it. Melissa gently pushed me toward the stairs. Let's go to your room. We're going to find it. We went up. Melissa practically tore the loose floorboard out of the floor. The empty box was still there, its black velvet intact. See, here's the box. Empty. She looked at me with those eyes that had faked sweetness for so long. Where is the necklace, Eleanor? I don't know. Of course you know. Her voice rose, losing control. Did you sell it behind my back? Did you keep the money? David appeared in the doorway. Melissa, calm down. I will not calm down. That necklace was worth $45,000. We needed it. You needed it, I said in a low voice. What did you say? I said you needed it. To pay your debts. The silence was absolute. Melissa looked at me as if I'd grown a second head. My debts. I don't have any debts. $85,000 in credit cards, personal loans, pawn shops. David took a step forward. What are you talking about, Mom? About the truth. About why Melissa needs money so badly. About why she wants to sell my house. Melissa laughed, a hysterical, humorless laugh. Now it turns out your mother is a detective. What else did you make up, Eleanor? That I'm stealing from you. That I want to send you to a nursing home. I didn't answer. I just looked at her. And in that silence, something happened to her face. A split second where fear replaced the rage. She knew that I knew. David, I said, without taking my eyes off Melissa, ask your wife how much she owes. Ask her why she's getting calls from collectors. Ask her about the statements she's hiding in her office. You're delusional, Melissa said, but her voice was shaking. Is it true? David looked at his wife. Are you in debt? Everyone has debt. A credit card or two, nothing serious. How much? David, now is not the time. How much? Melissa closed her eyes. When she opened them, there were tears. Real tears this time. Tears of fear and rage. 20,000, maybe 30. It's manageable. She was lying. Even now cornered, she was still lying. Are there documents, I said, in your office, statements that add up to a lot more than $30,000? You had no right to snoop in my office. You had no right to forge my signature. That stopped her cold. David looked back and forth between us as if we were strangers. Is someone going to explain to me what is happening? Your wife forged documents for the house, property transfer documents, with my signature. She's planning to sell my house to pay her debts. That's a lie. You're making things up because you're not well, Eleanor. There it was again, the implication of dementia. I am perfectly fine. Really. The woman who lost a $45,000 necklace is perfectly fine. The woman who accuses her family of stealing from her is perfectly fine. She turned to David. You see what I'm telling you? Your mother needs help, professional help. I don't need help. I need to be left in peace. In peace. Melissa laughed again. You know what, Eleanor? Maybe you're right. Maybe you should leave. Get your own apartment. Live alone. Because clearly we are not a family anymore. We never were a family. I was your servant for 12 years. We gave you a roof over your head. It was my house. My shout echoed in the small room. David took a step back. Melissa froze. This house is mine. I continued, my voice shaking but firm. Ernest left it to me. Not to you, not to David, to me. And for 12 years, I let you convince me I was a guest, that I should be grateful, that I was worthless. Mom. No, David, let me finish. You took my bedroom. You put me in a storage room. You treated me like an employee. And when I finally said no, when I finally set a boundary, you screamed at me in front of 30 people that I was useless. Tears were streaming down my cheeks now. Tears from 12 years of humiliation, of buried pain, of trampled dignity. So no. I am not selling my necklace. I am not remodeling my house so you can be comfortable. And I am definitely not letting you declare me incompetent to steal the only thing I have left. Melissa turned pale. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about the lawyer, Roger Keene. I'm talking about the $500 it cost to declare someone incompetent. I'm talking about Roseanne and Patricia, your paid-off witnesses. You're crazy. No, but you wanted me to seem that way, didn't you? I walked out of the room. I went down the stairs, my legs shaking. I grabbed my purse, my sweater. Where are you going? David followed me down. Somewhere I won't be treated like trash. Mom, wait. We can talk about this. I stopped at the door. I turned to look at my son, my only son, the child I had carried, who I had raised with all my love. When she screamed at me at Valerie's party, you said nothing. That was your answer, David, your silence. I didn't know what to do. You knew what to do, defend your mother, but you chose not to. I walked out and closed the door behind me. I walked the 3 blocks to Rebecca's house. I rang the bell. When she opened it and saw my face, she hugged me without asking any questions. It's done, she whispered. It's done, Eleanor. The worst is over. But she was wrong. The worst was yet to come. I stayed at Rebecca's house that night, and the next, and the next. This time it wasn't an escape, it was a strategy. Julian called me on the 3rd day. Mrs. Eleanor, we need to act fast. Melissa has fast-tracked the process. She filed a petition for a psychiatric evaluation with a family court judge. She says, you are exhibiting erratic behavior, that you lost valuable items, that you're making baseless accusations. Can she do that? She already did. She has an order for an evaluation within 5 days. If you don't show up, the judge can interpret that as evidence of your incapacity. And if I do show up, the psychiatrist Melissa chose is, let's just say, he has a reputation for being very accommodating to whoever pays him. But I have a better plan. What? We get ahead of it. We file our own lawsuit first, with all the evidence we have. We put our cards on the table before she has a chance to manipulate the process. When? Tomorrow, I'm filing the criminal complaint for forgery and attempted theft, and you are going to return to your house with full legal protection. I barely slept that night. I knew that the next day everything would explode. There was no turning back. Saturday dawned with a perfect blue sky. Ironic, considering the storm that was about to break. At 9 in the morning, Melissa organized a dinner. She called the whole family. Her mother, her 2 sisters, Patricia, David's sister, even some close neighbors, 12 people in total. Rebecca called me at 10. Eleanor, my neighbor, just told me, there are a lot of people going into your house. What's happening? Melissa is making her final move. What are you doing there? You should be at your house. I'm on my way. It's time. I got dressed in my best clothes, a beige pantsuit I had bought years ago when Ernest was still alive. I combed my hair carefully. I put on a little makeup. I needed to look dignified, competent, sane. Julian picked me up at 11. He was carrying a briefcase full of documents. Ready. We arrived at my house at noon. There were several cars parked outside. I heard voices, laughter from inside. "Remember," Julian said, "stay calm. It doesn't matter what they say. You have the truth and the law on your side." I opened the door with my own keys. The living room was full. Melissa had set up a table with snacks, wine, sodas. White and gold balloons hung from the ceiling as if it were a celebration. The conversation stopped when I walked in. Everyone stared at me. "Eleanor." Melissa walked over, smiling. "So glad you came. We wanted to talk to you." "Talk about what?" "About your future, about how we can help you." I looked around. I recognized everyone. Melissa's mother, Mrs. Grant, sitting in my armchair with a glass of wine. Melissa's sisters, Laura and Christina, one on each side. Patricia, my sister-in-law, avoiding my gaze. Roseanne, my neighbor, the one Melissa had paid $3,000 for her false testimony. And David standing by the window, his arms crossed. "Sit down, Mom." David pointed to a chair in the center of the room as if I were on trial. "I prefer to stand." "Eleanor," Melissa began with that sweet voice that no longer fooled me. "Everyone here loves you. We care about you. That's why we're worried. Worried about your health, your well-being." She paused dramatically. "Lately you've been different." "Different how?" "Forgetful," Mrs. Grant chimed in. "Melissa tells me you lost a very valuable necklace." "I didn't lose it." "You've also been making accusations," continued Laura, Melissa's older sister, "saying Melissa wants to rob you. That's not normal, Eleanor." "They're not accusations. They're facts." "You see," Melissa looked at the others with a worried expression. "She keeps insisting the family is out to get her. It's part of her condition." "I don't have any condition." Roseanne cleared her throat. "Eleanor, I've seen you these last few weeks. You seem confused. The other day you asked me if it was Tuesday when it was Thursday." "A lie. I never had that conversation." "That's false. And I've noticed you repeat the same stories," added Patricia, her voice trembling. "As if you don't remember you've already told them." Another lie. My own sister-in-law lying out of fear or complicity. "Eleanor." Melissa took my hand. I pulled it away. "We want what's best for you. That's why we've decided, all of us together, that you need professional help." "And professional help." "A place where they can take care of you, where you'll have nurses, doctors, activities appropriate for your age." "A nursing home." "A specialized care residence," corrected Mrs. Grant. "My cousin is in one. It's beautiful. Gardens, painting classes, they even have church services on Sundays. I am not going to any nursing home." "Mom, be reasonable." David approached. "You can't live alone anymore. It's not safe. This is my house." "It was your house." Melissa dropped the words like stones. "But now we need to think about what's practical. David and I are going to stay here. Valerie needs stability, and you will be better cared for in a professional facility." "Did you sign the papers?" I asked David. "Did you transfer the house to your name?" "Mom." "Answer me. Did you sign property transfer documents?" His silence was all the answer I needed. "I see." I felt something break inside me, the last thread connecting me to my son. "So, you are an accomplice." "I'm not an accomplice to anything. I'm taking care of you." "Taking care of me?" I laughed, a dry, humorless laugh. "You call putting me in a home while you take my house taking care of me? It's for your own good. It's for $85,000 of your wife's debts." The silence that followed was deafening. Melissa turned white. The sisters exchanged glances. "I don't know what you're talking about," Melissa said, her voice tight. "I'm talking about your credit cards, your loans, your desperate need for money." I turned to the guests. "Melissa owes over $120,000. She needs to sell this house to pay it off. But the house is mine, so she plans to declare me incompetent to take control." "That's ridiculous," Melissa spat. "Is it?" I took out my phone. Because I have photos of the documents, the statements, the emails with your lawyer, Roger Keene, everything. I passed the phone around. The photos circulated. I watched their faces change. Surprise, shock, discomfort. Mrs. Grant looked at her daughter. Melissa, is this true? It's all taken out of context. Wonder $20,000 is context, asked Christina, her younger sister. And there's more, I continued. I looked at Roseanne. Do you want to tell them about the $3,000 Melissa paid you, or should I? Roseanne turned bright red. She lent me that money for my son's car. A loan. With what money? She's drowning in debt. Eleanor, that's enough. David took a step toward me. You're making a scene. A scene. Your wife is trying to steal my house. She forged my signature, hired a lawyer to declare me incompetent, and you are helping her. I'm trying to keep my family together, at the cost of your mother, at the cost of whatever it takes. There it was, the truth, raw, painful, final. My son had chosen, and he hadn't chosen me. Melissa stood up, her hands shaking. Everyone knows you're lying. You're sick, Eleanor. You're seeing conspiracies where there are none. That's why you need help. Then explain the property transfer documents with my forged signature. Explain the email with the real estate broker. Explain the nursing home brochures with my name on them. Stop it! Melissa screamed, her composure finally shattered. You're ruining everything we built. What you built, on my back. You gave me a roof when I was alone. You gave me a family. You took my house, my dignity, and my life. Melissa looked at me with pure, undisguised hatred. You know what, Eleanor, get out. Go wherever you want. But without the necklace, without any money, without anything. Because all of this, she gestured around the room, all of this is ours now. No, a new voice said from the door. None of this is yours. We all turned. Julian had entered, accompanied by 2 plainclothes police officers. I am Julian Soto, attorney for Mrs. Eleanor Duran. I have a search warrant and a summons. He handed papers to David. My son read them, his face growing paler. What is this? A criminal complaint for forgery, attempted theft, and fraud against Melissa Fuentes. Melissa staggered back. You can't. We also have a warrant to search Mrs. Fuentes' office. We need to seize certain documents as evidence. The officers moved toward the stairs. Melissa tried to block their path. You can't go in there. That's my private office. We have a court order, ma'am. Please step aside. For the next 20 minutes, the officers brought down boxes of documents. The green folder, the red folder, the bank statements, the printed emails, the nursing home brochures. Everything. The guests watched in shock. Mrs. Grant was crying silently. Melissa's sisters had moved away from her as if her shame was contagious. Melissa Fuentes, one of the officers said, we need you to come with us to give a statement. Are you arresting me? At the moment, we just need your statement. But depending on what we find in these documents, formal charges may be filed. David! Melissa turned to her husband, her eyes full of real tears for the first time. David, don't let them take me. My son was staring at the floor. He said nothing. David, go with them. Melissa, fix this. Fix this. Your mother is destroying me. Defend me. But David just shook his head, his gaze empty. Melissa looked at me then. There was no sweetness or manipulation left, just pure hatred. This isn't over. I won't let you win. You already won plenty for 12 years. The officers led her away. I heard her heels clicking on the floor, then the front door closing. The guests began to leave one by one, mumbling awkward apologies, avoiding my eyes. Roseanne walked past me without a word. Patricia paused for a moment. Eleanor, No, I don't want to hear it. She left too. When everyone was gone, only David, Julian, and I remained. I also brought this. Julian took out another document. A civil suit for unpaid domestic labor, 12 years of cooking, cleaning, and childcare. We've calculated a fair wage. It comes to $68,000. David looked up incredulous. You're suing me. I'm claiming what you owe me. You're my mother, and you are my son, the son who let his wife treat me like trash for 12 years. I didn't know. You knew. Maybe not the details, but you knew something was wrong, and you chose to look away. David sank onto the sofa, his head in his hands. What do you want me to do? Get out of my house. He jerked his head up. What? This is my house. Ernest left it to me. I never signed any transfer. You are living here out of my goodwill, and that goodwill has run out. Mom, you can't kick us out. Where will I go with Valerie? You should have thought of that before. Please give me a chance. I can fix this. I can... You can what, David? Give me back the last 12 years. Erase all the times you stayed silent while your wife humiliated me. He didn't answer because there was no answer. You have 2 weeks to find another place and move out. After that, I'm changing the locks. Mom, 2 weeks. I walked out of my own living room. I went up to my storage room for the last time. I grabbed my few belongings, came down with my small suitcase. Where are you going? David asked. To Rebecca's house. Until you are gone. Then I'm coming back. To my house. Julian walked me to the door. I turned one last time. David was still sitting there, surrounded by the white and gold balloons from a celebration that never was, in the middle of a living room that no longer belonged to him. Goodbye, David. He didn't answer. I walked out with my head held high, my suitcase in one hand, and my dignity finally intact. Because I had learned something crucial these past few days. Sometimes getting your life back means losing the people you thought were your family, and it hurts. It hurts like nothing else in the world, but it's the price of freedom. The next few days were a whirlwind of legal proceedings, statements, and discoveries I hadn't even anticipated. Julian called me on Tuesday morning. His voice was tense but excited. Mrs. Eleanor, I need you to come to my office now. We found something important. I was there in half an hour. His desk was covered in scattered documents, colored markers, sticky notes everywhere. When the officers searched Melissa's office, they found more than we expected. He opened a blue folder I had seen before. A lot more. What did they find? Melissa didn't just forge transfer documents for your house. She also has a second set of deeds, completely fake. With them, she already sold the house. I felt the floor move. What? 3 weeks ago, using the fake deeds, she sold your house to a shell company for $280,000, way below market value. The company is owned by a Hector Salinas. Does that name mean anything to you? I shook my head. He's Melissa's cousin. They planned for you to sign a power of attorney supposedly for maintenance paperwork. With that power, they were going to legalize the sale retroactively. And you wouldn't have noticed until it was too late. And the money... Melissa received an $80,000 advance. She used it to pay off the most urgent credit cards and the most aggressive collectors. The rest was to come after it was all finalized. I sat down, dizzy. But that means, if we hadn't acted when we did, you would have lost your house, for real. They would have had you declared incompetent, signed papers for you. And by the time you realized it, there would be no going back. The horror of how close I had come to the edge left me speechless. There's more. Julian pulled out more papers. I looked into David, your son. His finances. I wanted to know if he was an active or passive accomplice. He paused. Mrs. Eleanor, your son, knew nothing about Melissa's debts. She kept it all secret. But 2 months ago, he signed a document. What document? A $30,000 personal loan in his name. But Melissa is the one who arranged it. She made him believe it was for home improvements. That money never went to any improvements. It went straight to paying interest on her cards. David, my son, had also been deceived. So he didn't know. He didn't know the extent of it. He knew something was wrong, yes. The arguments with Melissa, the strange calls, the stress. But she kept him in the dark. She manipulated him just as much as she did you. Just in a different way. I didn't know whether to feel relief or more pain. My son wasn't the villain I had imagined. He was just another puppet in Melissa's show. What's going to happen now? Melissa is facing serious charges. Forgery, aggravated fraud, attempted theft. We're talking 5 to 10 years in prison. And that's if she has a good lawyer. And Hector Salinas, the cousin. He's facing charges as an accomplice. The shell company is being investigated. All the money will be seized and returned. 10 years. Valerie would be 22 when her mother got out. And my granddaughter. Julian looked at me with understanding. That's a question only you can answer, Mrs. Eleanor. 2 days later, on Thursday, Melissa was formally arrested. Bail was set at $20,000. Her parents paid it selling Mrs. Grant's car and borrowing from relatives. Melissa got out of jail looking haggard with no makeup and wrinkled clothes. There was nothing left of the perfectly put-together woman I knew. On Friday, David showed up at Rebecca's house. He had Valerie by the hand. My granddaughter ran to me. "Grandma."
Psyche.
I hugged her, feeling her little arms around my neck, her apple shampoo smell. "Hi, my love." "Why haven't you come home? I miss you." "I miss you too, sweetie." David waited until Rebecca took Valerie to the kitchen for cookies. "Mom, I need to talk to you." "Go ahead." He sat across from me, his hands between his knees. He looked 10 years older. Julian showed me everything. The documents, the debts, the thing with her cousin Hector, everything. "And I didn't know, Mom, I swear. Melissa hid it all from me." "But you knew something was wrong." He nodded, his eyes wet. "I knew there was tension. I knew we were spending more than we had. But every time I asked, she said it was under control, that they were investments for the future, for Valerie." He wiped his eyes. "I was an idiot. You were my son who didn't defend me when I needed it most. I know, and I'm going to live with that for the rest of my life." He looked at me directly. "But I need you to know something. I'm divorcing Melissa." I didn't expect that. "Why?" "Because what she did is unforgivable. She tried to destroy you. She used Valerie and me as excuses for her lies. And she almost succeeded." His voice broke. "I almost lost my mother because I was defending her. Because I was too much of a coward to see the truth. And Valerie, it's going to be hard on her. But she can't grow up thinking what her mother did was okay. She can't learn that manipulation and deceit are normal." He was right, but the pain in his eyes broke my heart. "Where will you live?" I rented a small apartment, 2 bedrooms, near Valerie's school. He paused. "Mom, I know I have no right to ask you for anything, but—" "What?" "Can we visit you, Valerie and I, not to live with you? Just to not lose you completely." I looked through the window into the kitchen where Valerie was laughing with Rebecca eating cookies. "Yes," I said finally, "you can visit." "Thank you, Mom." "But are there conditions?" "Whatever they are. You're going to pay the civil suit. The $68,000. Not all at once. I can wait. But you are going to pay me. Okay. And you will never, ever stay silent again when someone disrespects me. I don't care if it's your wife, your boss, or anyone. Never again, I promise." He got up to leave, but stopped at the door. "Mom, one more thing. The house, it's obviously yours, but what are you going to do with it? It's so big for one person." I smiled. I had been thinking about that for days. "I have a plan." The following Monday, Melissa showed up at Rebecca's house. She rang the bell at 6 in the evening. Rebecca looked at me asking if I wanted to see her. I nodded. Melissa walked into the dining room like a ghost. She wasn't wearing designer clothes, just jeans and a simple blouse, no makeup. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. "Eleanor." "Melissa." She sat down without being invited. She put her hands on the table, and I saw they were shaking. "I came to ask you to drop the charges." "No. Please, if I go to prison, Valerie loses her mother. You should have thought of that before you tried to steal my house." I was desperate. The debts the collectors were calling me 10 times a day, threatening me. One of them came to my job, humiliated me in front of everyone. I just needed to get out. At the cost of destroying me. "I never wanted to destroy you." Her eyes filled with tears. "I just wanted the money. I was still going to let you live in the nursing home. I was going to visit. I wasn't going to abandon you completely." I looked at her. This woman who had tortured me with small cruelties for 12 years, who had taken my bedroom, my dignity, my peace. Do you know the difference between you and me, Melissa? What? When I had problems after Ernest died, when I felt lost and alone, I didn't try to destroy anyone to save myself. You did. I made mistakes. They weren't mistakes. They were choices. Decision after decision to hurt me, use me, erase me. She covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook. What do you want me to do? Grovel beg you. I don't want anything from you, Melissa. You can't give me anything I need anymore. Then why? Why go through with the lawsuit? Revenge. No. I stood up. Justice. There's a difference. And Valerie, it's not her fault. Exactly. It's not her fault. That's why she's going to learn starting now that actions have consequences. That you can't lie and steal and manipulate without paying the price. She's just a girl who deserves a mother who teaches her real values, not how to destroy people to get what you want. Melissa stood up. She wasn't crying anymore. She just looked at me with a mixture of rage and defeat. You're going to destroy my family. Your family was already destroyed. I just turned on the light so everyone could see it. And she left without another word. I heard her footsteps walking away, the door closing. Rebecca came into the dining room. Are you okay? Yes, for the first time in a long time, I'm okay. 2 weeks later, exactly as he'd promised, David and Valerie moved out. I helped them pack. Valerie cried as she put her toys in boxes. Why can't we stay, Grandma? Because sometimes things need to change, honey, but that doesn't mean we won't see each other. Promise. I promise. The day I finally returned to my house, sunlight was streaming through all the windows. I walked through it slowly, room by room. Melissa's office was empty. The closets in the master bedroom were empty. Everything was clean, tidy, silent. It was my house again. I went up to the master bedroom, the one that had been mine and Ernest's, the one they had taken from me 8 years ago. I sat on the floor in the spot where our bed used to be. I closed my eyes. I did it, Ernest, I whispered. I got our house back. I got my life back. And for the first time since he died, I felt like I was really beginning to heal. 3 months later, on a Tuesday in February, I sat in Family Courtroom 12. The room smelled like old paper and burnt coffee. Melissa sat on the other side next to her public defender. There was no money left for expensive lawyers. The judge read the sentence in a monotone voice. In the case of aggravated fraud, forgery of official documents, and attempted theft, the defendant, Melissa Fuentes, is sentenced to 6 years in prison, reducible for good conduct. The sentence is suspended, and she is placed on probation under the following conditions. Melissa wasn't going to prison immediately. She would have probation, but with strict conditions: community service, mandatory therapy, reporting to a judge every week, and a strict order to stay away from me and my property. If she violated any of these conditions, she would go directly to prison. I looked at her. She didn't look back at me. She looked small, defeated, nothing like the imposing woman who had screamed at me in front of 30 people. Hector Salinas, her cousin, wasn't so lucky. He did go to prison. 4 years for conspiracy to commit fraud. The shell company was dissolved, and the $80,000 Melissa had received was seized and returned. But by then, that money had already evaporated in interest payments. I left the courthouse with Julian by my side. "How do you feel?" he asked. "I don't know. I thought I'd feel victorious, but I just feel tired." "That's normal. Justice doesn't always feel the way we think it will." He was right. For months I had imagined this moment. I thought I would feel triumph, satisfaction, sweet revenge. But I just felt relief. And sadness for everything that had been lost along the way. David had kept his promise. He divorced Melissa 2 weeks after he moved out. The divorce was fast, uncontested. Melissa had nothing to fight for. She had no house, no money, nothing but debt and an uncertain future. Custody of Valerie was given to David. Melissa got supervised visits every 2 weeks. My son also started paying me back, $150 a month. It wasn't much, but it was what he could afford after paying his rent, Valerie's expenses, and part of the debts Melissa had left in his name. "I'm going to pay you back everything, Mom, soon," he had told me, "even if it takes me 20 years. "I know, son." The visits started slowly. An afternoon every other week. David and Valerie would come over for lunch. At first it was awkward, full of heavy silences and shallow conversations, but little by little, week by week, the wounds began to heal. Valerie asked me one afternoon while we were eating chili in the kitchen, "Grandma, why did Mom do those bad things?" David tensed. I took my granddaughter's hand. "Sometimes honey people make bad decisions when they're scared. Your mom was very scared and she made decisions that hurt other people. But aren't you scared? Of course I get scared. Everyone gets scared sometimes, but that doesn't give us permission to hurt the people we love." "Do you still love Mom?" The question caught me off guard. I looked at David, who was staring at his plate. I don't know if I still love her, but I don't wish her any harm. I hope she learns from her mistakes and becomes a better person." "Me too," Valerie said with the seriousness of a child, "because even though she did bad things, she's still my mom." "Yes, my love, she is still your mom, and you have every right to love her. That will never be wrong." I hugged her and felt her tears on my blouse. But the story didn't end there, because I had a plan for my house, a plan that had been growing ever since I got my keys back. One afternoon in March, I gathered my knitting circle in the living room. The 6 ladies who had supported me, who had been my witnesses, my friends, my tribe. "I have a proposal for you," I said. I took out some papers I had prepared with Julian. "This house is too big for me alone. 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a garden, a garage. It's a waste for just me to live here." "Are you going to sell it?" Susan asked. "No, I'm going to share it. But this time, on my terms." I explained my plan. I wanted to turn 3 of the bedrooms into workshops, a space for knitting classes, another for painting, another for pottery. The large living room would be a common area, the garden a space for meetings. I want to create a community center for women our age, a place where we can learn, create, and share, without having to pay expensive rent or depend on city-run spaces that never have available hours. "And how will you maintain it?" asked Heather, ever the practical one. "By charging affordable dues, $30 a month per person. Knitting classes, painting, pottery, yoga, whatever the teachers want to teach. Each teacher keeps 70%. I use 30% to maintain the house." "That's not much money," observed Betty. "It's not about the money. It's about creating something, a space where women like us can feel valued, useful, alive." Rebecca smiled. "So when do we start?" "Next week, if you'll all agree to be the first teachers." They agreed. All of them. I used the money from the opal necklace for the necessary remodels, $45,000 that my mother had saved for decades, waiting for the right moment. This was that moment. I hired a carpenter to build work tables. I bought sewing machines, knitting needles, fabrics, colorful yarn. I painted the walls bright, happy colors, sunflower yellow in the knitting workshop, sky blue in the painting studio, mint green for pottery. The master bedroom was still mine. The other 2 I left as guest rooms in case Valerie ever wanted to stay over, or if one of my friends needed a temporary refuge. The Eleanor's Art Center opened on a Saturday in April. 30 women came on the first day. Some were curious, others excited. All of them were looking for the same thing, a place to be themselves. Mrs. Peterson, 74, learned her first knitting stitches. Carmela, a recent widow at 62, found that painting helped her process her grief. Anne-Marie, divorced at 68, discovered she had a talent for pottery. And I found a purpose I didn't know I needed. It wasn't just about teaching. It was about creating a community, a space where women who society considered past their prime, invisible, worthless, could shine. David came to visit one Sunday. He walked through the workshops with Valerie, watching the ladies work, laugh, share stories. "Mom, this is incredible." "It is, isn't it? You turned all that pain into something beautiful." I shrugged. "Your father always said the best flowers grow from the best compost, and compost isn't exactly pleasant." Valerie was trying the pottery wheel, her hands covered in clay, laughing as it squished through her fingers. "Can I come more often, Grandma, to learn?" "Of course you can, my love. This is your house too." And I meant it. It was her house, but this time under different rules. Rules of respect, of clear boundaries of love, without manipulation. One evening in May, 6 months after everything, I was watering the azaleas in the garden, the same bright pink flowers Ernest used to care for. I heard the doorbell ring. It was Melissa. She looked different. Thinner, no makeup, her hair cut short. She was wearing simple, clean, but modest clothes. "Eleanor," Melissa, "I know I shouldn't be here, that I have a restraining order, but I needed to tell you something." "You have 5 minutes? I'm in therapy. It's mandatory from the sentencing, but it's helping. I'm understanding a lot of things about myself, about why I did what I did." I didn't say anything. I just waited. "I grew up poor, Eleanor. Very poor. My dad left us when I was 8. I watched my mom work 3 jobs to keep us fed. I saw how people looked at us with pity. I swore I would never live like that." "That doesn't justify anything." "I know, but it explains the terror I felt of going back to that place. When the debt started, when the collectors called, that terror came back. And instead of asking for help, instead of being honest, I decided someone else had to pay the price. Me. Yes, you. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I'm sorry for taking away your dignity. I'm sorry for trying to steal your house." Her voice broke. "I'm sorry for everything." I looked at her. This woman who had nearly destroyed me. This woman who is now broken in front of me. "Are you expecting me to forgive you?" "No, I don't expect that. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, that I'm trying to be better. For Valerie, for myself." "How is your relationship with Valerie?" "Difficult. She asks me questions. Why I did what I did. Why Dad and I got divorced. I try to be honest, but it's hard. Having your 12-year-old daughter look at you with disappointment. It's called consequences." "I know." She wiped her eyes. "Well, I've said what I came to say. I'll go before you call the police." She turned to leave. "Melissa." She stopped. "I don't forgive you. Not yet. Maybe never. But I hope you really do change. For Valerie, she deserves a better mother." "I know, and I will. Or at least I'll try." She left. I watched her walk down the street, a lonely figure in the afternoon sun. Rebecca appeared at my side. She had arrived for the knitting class. Was that Melissa? Yes. What did she want? To apologize. And nothing. An apology doesn't erase years of pain, but at least she's acknowledging what she did. Is it enough? No, but it's a start. We walked into the house together. The knitting workshop was already full of women. Their laughter filled the space that had once been so silent and sad. That night, after everyone had gone, I sat in my bedroom, the master bedroom, the one I got back. I took out an old photo of Ernest and me, 30 years younger, smiling in front of this very house the day we bought it. "I never imagined I'd have to fight so hard to keep it," I told his picture, "but it was worth it." I put the photo away and opened my journal. Ever since this all started, I had been writing, first as therapy, then as a record. I wrote the last entry. Today, 6 months after getting my life back, I understand something essential. Dignity isn't something other people can give you or take away. It's something you decide to keep. Even when the whole world tells you that you are worthless. For 12 years, I let them convince me I was a burden, that I should be grateful for the crumbs they gave me, that my age made me invisible, disposable. But I was 68 years old when I decided enough was enough. And if I could do it at 68, anyone can do it at any age. It's not easy. It hurts to lose the people you thought were your family. It hurts to discover that the people who said they loved you were willing to destroy you for money. But on the other side of that pain, there is something beautiful. Freedom. Today, I have a house full of laughter. I have friends who are more family than blood. I have a purpose that makes me wake up every morning excited to live. And I have something I didn't have 6 months ago: respect for myself. Because I learned that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-love. I learned that saying no doesn't make you a bad person, it makes you free. I learned that it is never ever too late to take your life back. I am 68 years old, and my life is just beginning. I closed the journal, I turned off the light, and I slept deeply. Without the noise of the washing machine waking me up, without the smell of detergent on my sheets, without the weight of humiliation crushing my chest, I slept in my own bed, in my own bedroom, in my own house. I slept like a free woman. 3 years later. Epilogue. The Eleanor's Art Center had grown. It wasn't just 3 workshops anymore. We now had yoga, traditional cooking, creative writing, even a book club. 120 women came through my house every week, women from 50 to 85 years old, all looking for the same thing: a place to be themselves. Some came recently divorced, trying to rebuild their identities. Others came as widows, looking to fill the void. Others just came because they were tired of being invisible. And they all found the same thing I had: community, purpose, dignity. Valerie was 15 now, a beautiful, smart teenager with her grandmother's strong character. She came every weekend. She helped with the classes. She learned from the older women. "Grandma," she told me one Saturday while we were organizing yarn, "when I grow up, I want to do something like this. Create spaces where people feel valued." "You are going to do amazing things, my love." Do you think Mom could come someday just to see, not to stay? Melissa had completed her probation without any issues. She was working in a coffee shop, living in a small apartment, still in therapy. Her relationship with Valerie was slowly improving. "Maybe someday," I replied, "when the time is right." David had finished paying me back 6 months ago, $68,000. It took him 3 years, but he did it. "We're even now, Mom," he'd said, handing me the last check. "No," I had replied. "We'll never be even, because it's not about money, it's about respect. And that, my son, you pay for every day with your actions." And he did. David had changed. He was more present, more attentive, more aware. Not perfect, but better. That night, after everyone left, I sat in the garden. The azaleas were more beautiful than ever, covering the entire wall with their bright pink flowers. Rebecca sat next to me with 2 cups of tea. "What are you thinking about?" "About everything that happened. About how something so terrible turned into something so beautiful." "Because you turned it into something beautiful, Eleanor. It didn't just happen. You decided to do something with the pain." "I guess I did." We drank our tea in silence, listening to the crickets, feeling the cool night breeze. "You know," I said finally, "for years I thought the worst day of my life was when Melissa screamed at me in front of everyone. But now, I think it was the best." "Why?" "Because that scream woke me up. It made me see that I had stopped living my own life. And it gave me the courage to take it back." Rebecca raised her cup. "To the screams that wake us up." I clinked my cup against hers. "And to the courage to get up after." Final reflection. If you are listening to this story and you identify with it, if there is someone in your life who makes you feel small, invisible, worthless, listen to me. You matter. Your dignity is not up for negotiation. Your age does not make you less valuable. Your situation does not define your future. Setting boundaries is not cruelty. It's self-love. Defending your space is not selfishness. It's a necessity. And it is never, ever too late to start over. I did it at 68. You can do it at any age. Because true wealth isn't in the houses you own or the money you have. True wealth is the peace you feel when you go to sleep each night, knowing that no one can take away what really matters: your dignity, your worth, your right to live without humiliation, and that nobody can take from you. Unless you let them. I stopped letting them. Will you? If this story touched something inside you, if it made you feel that you are not alone, leave me a comment telling me where you are watching from. Write your country, your city. I would love to know that these words reached you wherever you are, And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who is going through something similar, share this story. Maybe it's the push they need to wake up just like I did. Hit the like button if you believe it's never too late to take your life back. And subscribe to keep sharing stories of women who stood up when the world told them to stay down. Because these stories need to be told. And you need to know that you are not alone. You are never alone.